Good evening, everyone. How you doing? It's Ty Lewis here for another episode of Return to the Garden. Welcome, everyone. It's getting a little time for people to come in the room. Okay, we may be having a little sound trouble here. Give me a moment. Let me fix that. Okay, so I think we're back up. We had some technical difficulty there. Let's see if we're gonna come back in. Let's see. Okay, so I think we're back up. Yeah, I think we're on and going now. So let's keep it popping. All right, guys. Thanks for your patience. It's technical difficulty. What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? So thanks for your patience, but welcome to Return to the Garden. This is a conversation on expressionism and inclusive perspectives. So welcome back. This is the third episode here, and we're ready to get into it. As you know, this is based off of my new pieces that I just released, Adam and Eve Return to the Garden. And, the conversation just came straight from their development, me seeing some revelations in them as their work was completed. And I thought a greater conversation was definitely necessary. And so here we are. Let me just show you some of the pieces right now. This is Adam, all right, of Adam and Eve Return to the Garden. All right, check that out. All right, and then you have Eve as well. Right, and we're gonna get into it. I have a wonderful special guest this evening, and I think we're in for a great lesson. But I want you all to just sit back and enjoy it. Please comment down below any of your questions, any of your comments. I will post them up as we go along. Also, you can follow me. Make sure you're following me on my actual page, all right, at Art by Ty Lewis, or you can visit me on my website at artbytylewis.com. All right, and I also want to show you guys the Feature Art Friday, all right, which is this piece right here entitled Sunrest. All right, this is from my last series entitled Validity. All right, check that art right there out. Let me know what you think of that in the comment section. All right, this is again called I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong name. This is my piece called Weary and Well Doing. Okay, I'm telling you, I actually painted it. It was me that did it, I promise. All right, this is Weary and Well Doing from my last series, Validity. All right, and we'll get into that later on this evening too. But I don't want to belabor the hour. Okay. I want to jump right into it because I'm super excited. This is not only a dear friend of mine, but this is a mentor of mine in the art game for some time now. So he took some time out of his life for little old me, and I'm so, so grateful. He has an extensive background in the arts, an extensive wealth of knowledge that he's ready to pour out to us today. So I am so honored to have him. I can't wait to just jump into the conversation. We'll get back into some of the artwork as far as the Art Feature Friday, which is very well doing, and we'll get right into Adam and Eve Return to the Garden. So let's welcome everyone. Let's welcome right now none other than Arthur Leo Taylor. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Let's see if we can come get him in the room.
All right.
All right, there he is. Good, good, good. I am good. Now that we got all the kings out, I've been having some sound trouble. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's due to the weather or what, but
Yeah.
hopefully we're gonna, yeah, we'll push through. Whatever happens, we'll push through tonight. So, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good, pretty good. I mean, I just got through shoveling the snow outside. It's the first time I've
Hmm.
been outside in the last 2 days. So I
Okay.
got that done, cleaned the car off. So yeah, I'm good.
Right. Chores done for the day, right?
Yes, exactly.
So,
Put the
please,
trash
sir.
out. So yeah, I'm good.
Right, right, exactly. So, could you let these people who are watching and tune in, and remember, you can share. Please share this live. Comment down below. Let us know what you think of what's going on here. If you have any questions for my amazing guest, please go, ask away as we go throughout the evening. Huh?
I said yes, please.
Oh yes, 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 yes. Well, yeah. So please tell us about who you are, where you come from. Give us a little background on you, so they know how amazing you are, sir. Go
All
right
right,
ahead.
sure. Thank you. Well,
Mm.
I am originally from Washington D.C. I'm a graduate of Duke Ellington School of the Arts in DC. I think probably the most famous person to graduate from our school was Dave Chappelle.
Mm.
Dave Chappelle actually came into the theater department the year after I left, and he actually graduated in the same class with my wife, and they were really good friends.
Wow.
They were in school together and in the
Mm.
theater group together. But after graduating from Ellington, I then moved to Philadelphia to attend and graduate from what was the Philadelphia Colleges of the Arts, and they changed the name to the University of the Arts my sophomore year. So I graduated from there in 1990. And then from there, my life kind of split in two directions. I became a dance teacher and a tap dancer at the same time. I had my buddy
Mm.
Robert. Shout out to Robert. His birthday is today. He and I formed Tap Team 2 and Company, and we were the
Mm.
only tap company in Philadelphia. And we held
Wow.
the tradition of tap dance in Philadelphia because there's a long history of tap in Philadelphia. And Philly hasn't really honored tap the way it should, but we're working on that. And
Mm.
so, in addition to that, I was the teacher, a dance teacher, and a choreographer. I started as a summer camp counselor and rose all the way up to associate artistic director at Point Breeze Performing Arts Center in South Philadelphia. And I had the opportunity to work with some amazing students. We went around the world from Australia to the Caribbean to Texas, all over the place.
Mm.
And did that between several years, produced several shows while I was down there under the guise of Donna and Al Brown, who were the executive and directors down there at the
Mhm.
school. And so from there, I decided to come out of that and then went on to really focus my energy into the tap. Because
Mm.
tap had a resurgence at that time. And that was around the time that Savion Glover came out with Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk.
Right.
And so we just happened to fall on an illustrious time for tap. It was a resurgence. And so us being Tap Team 2 and doing the things we did, we were the Artist of the Year for an agency called Young Audiences. They sent us around the country. We also got booked and we performed with Riverdance in
Mm.
Europe. We did
Come on.
that.
You like to dance?
And yeah, that was quite an experience, let me tell you. And so after I decided that my wife and I got married and we were expecting, so our first daughter, Rhapsody, we decided, I decided, it's time to come off the road and maybe go into teaching full time in a public school setting. So
Mm.
we were prepared to pack our things up and move back down to DC and hopefully get a job at our old high school.
Yeah.
We got a phone call that they were opening up a art school in Camden, Creative Arts High School.
Hmm.
And so that's what really brought me to New Jersey. We moved to Jersey. I think I was there. I think, actually, I was in, it was my fourth or fifth day of class when 9/11 happened. And I
Wow.
remember having to go to my class and explain to them that the world was in a bit of a chaos.
Yeah.
So I started teaching in 2001 in the public school setting. I taught in Camden for 14 years. I was
Mm-hmm.
hired down in Pleasantville, and it didn't take much for me to agree to that job because the minute I walked into the theater,
All
I
right.
knew this was the place for me. And so I've worked at theater as much as I can, believe you me. But so I've been teaching down in Pleasantville. This is my sixth year. I was the teacher of the year last year at Pleasantville, and I say that because I'm sitting in the hallway when I was doing my interview, and I saw the pictures of the
Right.
teachers of the year, and I just said my picture's going to be up there one day, and sure enough, it was. So.
Right.
And then while in Pleasantville, I made the acquaintance of some incredible people. And one of
Mm-hmm.
those people was, of course, Phyllis Hawkins. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
I'll never forget meeting Phyllis first. And people kept telling me I needed to meet her. And then finally, one day she came up to the school and we met. And then next thing I know, she came back in a few days and said to me, hey, Arthur, how would you like to direct the Nubian Nutcracker?
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said, you had me at Nubian. And so that's how that all got started. And so Phyllis and I were looking for a script to produce, and
Mm-hmm.
we could not find one. So I
Yeah.
said, well, Phyllis, it looks like I'm just going to have to write this. And
Yeah.
so that happened. I had to ended up writing the script, and we went through a whole bunch of rewrites and changes and
Mm-hmm.
alterations and different things like that to try to perfect it for the stage. And I think we
Mm-hmm.
didn't get our last official written script until maybe like 2 to 3 weeks before we opened, because we
Right.
were always tweaking it.
I
Remember?
remember.
Yes. And so I had met Ty prior to this. So when I found out that he was going to be the stage manager and all that, I was super excited
Mm-hmm.
because we had run into each other and
Yeah.
had known each other. And I was amazed at some of the things he was able to do in Pleasantville with working at the rec center and working with the students there. And we had many conversations in
Yeah.
my office, and we talked a lot about the work that he was doing. And then I was really amazed to find that he was an artist. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wow,
Right.
the lineage of great painters and especially African American folks from the area is good because Jacob Lawrence was
Yes.
born in Atlantic City, and that's no small feat. One of
No.
the premier African American
Woo.
of our day with his series on Harriet Tubman and the Great
Mhm.
Migration.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so that's how we came to know each other, and that's pretty much
Mhm.
where I am now in a nutshell. I've done a lot of things. I'm married. I have 3 daughters. My oldest daughter
Yes.
graduated last year
Amazing.
from
Amazing wife. Amazing daughters.
yeah.
Like.
She graduated from University of Arts last year, summa cum laude, and our middle daughter is in University of Arts now in her sophomore year as a dance major, and our baby girl, who's our musical theater kid, because we met each other through The Color Purple. That's what it was.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was the choreographer in Williamstown for The Color Purple and
Yes.
the Ritz Theater,
Yes.
and um, not the Ritz. I'm sorry, the Grand Theater.
Right. The great. Oh my gosh. Yes.
We done work at the Ritz too. That's why we. The Grand Theater in Williamstown, and that's how I came to meet Ty through The Color Purple, and he was extremely talented. I was like, wow. So at one point we had you in our dance company too, because we had a dance company.
Right. Like, get into it. Okay. Let me tell this part. Okay. So first of all, yes, and that's him in literally a nutshell, right? So because there's so many more layers and so many amazing accomplishments that he has under his belt. But yes, we did meet. He and I for Color Purple, and I was working in the ensemble and I had a little small part, and but it was time to get ready for the African scene. And we were learning the choreography for that. And when I tell you, Mr. Arthur Leo Taylor worked us, okay, worked us in that choreography. But what I took away from that, and what I was so amazed by, I never take for granted who I'm coming across, because I feel like everything's divine
Mm-hmm.
and ordained. So when we were going through that process, you were not only just a choreographer, but you were a teacher. Like, you had lessons on who we were as African Americans that you were
Right.
giving us as our ancestry, and why we were dancing the way we were, and
Right.
why the juke joint scene was so significant to our people
Mm-hmm.
and what it meant. And I appreciated that I could not only walk away with some being a part of some fierce dance, you know what I mean, but also walk away with some knowledge, and walk away feeling like I'm a better African American now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so I really, really did honor that. After that, I think we did. You then became my director when I played a lead role in A Raisin in the Sun.
Right.
Right,
Yes.
right, right, right. There's so many things, right?
I know.
Right,
I know.
right,
Yeah.
right. So it was A Raisin in the Sun, and that was phenomenal, phenomenal too. Oh, was that after Color Purple? That was
Yes.
right,
Yeah. It
right.
was.
And so we did that, and then again, still the lessons, the way he trusted me as a performer, as an actor. You know what I
You
mean?
are
To kind of like
amazing, Walter Lee.
yeah.
Amazing.
Listen, that was a dream role. It was a dream role for me. It really, really was. I've seen another mentor of mine, Leonard Dozier, perform that some years back, and I always wanted to play that role. So I was like, "Here's my opportunity." Shouts out to Erica Williams now,
Yes, Erica.
who told me, who was the one that said, "Ty, you need to audition for this show." And so I ended up getting that. We worked. We had a phenomenal time doing that show, and then I went on to be a part of your dance company for a spell, which
Mm-hmm.
was another dream, because again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm self taught in most of the mediums that I'm in. I'm only recently
That is
honed,
amazing.
honed right, honed skills in any area. Like, I got my degree in studio art, but that came after the dance company. That came
Right.
after Raisin in the Sun and Color Purple. And so to be a part of a dance company had always been a dream of mine. And so I
Yeah.
got to work with you and your amazing wife,
Mm-hmm.
and just put more things underneath my belt under your tutelage. And so we did that, and then we worked. We would go on to work with Miss the amazing Phyllis Hawkins,
Mm-hmm.
uh, with the Nubian Nutcracker and some other things in between. You got to come and see my show that I wrote when
Yes.
I played that
Yes.
show.
Yes,
So yeah,
indeed.
so it's long, long, long line of friendship and networking and all that good stuff between us two.
So I think as artists, one of the things, especially African American artists, one of the things I always tell my students is that it's important that we not be esoteric. It is
Mm,
important because we have too many stories to tell. And so
mm,
when there is money put behind us, when there is energy put behind us, we have to make sure that we're telling our stories, because if we don't,
yeah.
someone else will. And
Yes.
they don't always tell it the right way. Now,
Yeah.
I always say the door opener for me, there were two African American men who opened up the doors for me to be able to truly understand the gift that I was given,
Mm,
and to understand the history and the lineage and legacy behind it also.
yeah.
And the
Mm,
first was this gentleman, Mr. Lewis Johnson. Lewis
mm,
Johnson was the original choreographer of The Wiz.
wow.
He did The Wiz, the movie, I'm sorry.
Mm,
George Faison did The Wiz, the Broadway show, which was a whole nother influence. But
right.
Lewis Johnson choreographed Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Ted Ross, all of those people. He has the
Mm,
largest scene of dancers ever recorded on film. And that
mm,
was that Wiz scene with them going around in Oz and with the colors
yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
There's never been that many dancers on film in the history of Hollywood,
Mm,
the way that they did that particular thing. So, and I say him because I was at Ellington in
mm,
my younger years, and I ran across a yearbook. And this is a very embarrassing story for me, but I like to
okay.
tell it because I want
Okay.
people to know and understand. So I'm
Absolutely.
looking at the yearbook and I open it up and I look at this picture and I see this guy who's like showing the kids how to go across the floor. And I'm looking at
Right.
him like, well, why is this custodian, on here? Who is this guy?
Right.
So
Right.
we got invited to Howard. Now, as an Ellington student, we spent about 10% of our time on Howard's campus or dealing with Howard, and not less the
Mhm.
fact most of our teachers were teaching at Howard. So I
Yeah.
always consider myself a Howard graduate by default. I don't
Right.
need to pay, but I have to give my time. In any
Right.
case, so we got invited to hear him speak, Lewis Johnson.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this guy. This guy looks familiar. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
That was that guy that I thought was the custodian. And I
Right.
began to slip down in my chair like, oh my God. When he got to talking about it, anybody knows me, I'm a huge Diana Ross fan. There she is right
Yeah. Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan, supporter. So when he began to talk about working with her, working with Michael Jackson, working with all these other folks,
Mhm.
I was dumbfounded. And what that said to me was that this is a door opener for you to understand more about your history and your culture and those people who came
Yeah.
before. Because how dare you sit in a room with a guy who is an absolute genius and not know who he is? Now,
Right.
I was a foster child from the age of 5 till I graduated
Mhm.
from college.
Mhm.
And my foster mom would always get the Jet magazines, and she would always get the little pictures and cut the little pictures out of different celebrities.
Yeah.
So I knew a lot of celebrities. I knew a
Right.
lot of African American
Yeah.
celebrities, a lot of the older ones that most people may not remember, but I knew them. So that was the thing that got me with him. And the second person was the play that changed my life was The Colored Museum by
Mhm.
none other than George C. Wolfe, who is
Wow.
getting a lot of accolades because he just
Mhm.
directed Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
George C. Wolfe's The Colored Museum is a piece that is like a Bible to African American culture. And the
Mhm.
reason why I say that, he covers everything from Michael Jackson's nose changing all the way up to the mammies and blackface. And he has
Right.
everything in this play. And his characters in the play, which is kind of a review because you go from scene to scene to scene, they all represent aspects of Black people's lives that may have looked stereotypical from the outside,
Mhm.
but he really delves into who they are, what it is they mean to Black culture. And my favorite quote from the play that really sums it up is, I'm not, and because he always talks about Black people,
Yeah.
and the thing about us is we are very, very contradictory. We
Yes.
contradict ourselves all the time, and that's our magic. So my favorite quote is, I'm not what I was 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. I'm all of that and then some. And
Mhm.
whereas I can't
Wow.
live inside yesterday's pain, I can't live without it. And for me, that just sums up who we are as a people. And I just think that he is
Ooh.
such a genius.
Say
I
that
think it
again.
would
Say
really
that
work.
again, please.
It says, I'm not who I was 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. I'm
Mm.
all of that and then some. And
Mm.
whereas I can't live inside yesterday's pain, I can't live without it. And
Mm.
that just sums up our whole existence here
It
on
does.
this continent.
It
It
so
really
does.
does.
See, this is what I knew was going to happen. That you would get on here and start telling about your story, and then I would just totally forget what was supposed to be going on here. Because I am a sponge when it comes to our stories, our lessons,
Right.
our people, our
Yes.
stories. I think that's why I am the artist that I am,
Mm-hmm.
because the necessity for our stories to be told and
Yes.
told by us. Because when they are told by us, they're so beautifully depicted, they're so beautifully, poetically
Yes.
written, that I feel like our story, our struggle is a melody, and
Mm-hmm.
and if told correctly is the sweetest sound. And
Yeah.
so that's why I had you repeat what
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
quote
Yeah.
there, because it truly sums up where we're at, and
Right.
to also do our story. And then also, just to piggyback on what you're saying, it's so necessary for us to appreciate those who do come in our lives and impact us in that
Yes.
way, especially us as artists,
Mm-hmm.
to say, listen, I'm standing on someone's shoulders. I
Yeah.
can truly say that, and that's why I think everyone is like, shocked when they're like, Ty, you're self-taught artist. Yes, I am, but it's because I also take the opportunity to hear, to listen to people like yourself, to
Mm,
observe you, and to take something from you
mm,
to make a part of my story.
mm.
And with so many mentors that's coming into my life,
Yeah.
of course I will be an artist that I am right now that's self-taught, but no one really gets that. You
So,
know what I
right,
mean?
right, right,
It,
right.
yeah, I am a product of all those who've come before me and made a way.
Well,
You
you
know what I
know,
mean?
William Johnson, who's another famous African American artist, was self-taught. He was out of
Yeah.
Chester, PA, Westchester, PA, and he was self-taught, and his work, now worth millions.
Yeah.
The guy, he did some amazing pieces,
Yeah.
and to discover his work and to really see what it is that he did, being a self-taught person, it's phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Absolutely. So
But hasn't that been the way for us all the time?
yes.
It's in Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk. Savion Glover has this scene called "Something from Nothing," and
Mm,
so the idea that we would be creating everything that this continent and folks aspire to from absolutely nothing. But here's the thing that people don't recognize, and I have a theory about this, because
okay.
if you notice, everything that's created that is extremely creative that comes out of our community, it never starts with the wealthy. It always starts in squalor. I call it the firmament
Hmm.
theory. And that is that there is a direct connection with Black people to the Creator.
Yes.
The
Ooh.
Bible talks
Yeah.
about
See, he wasn't ready
firmament.
for it tonight. They wasn't ready for it tonight, but you gonna go ahead and give it.
Yeah, the Bible talks about God creating everything out of the firmament. And so it's that firmament that is still
Mm,
found in the hood, in the ghettos, and the evidence is always there. Jazz
mm,
was started in Storyville.
mm,
Storyville was a red light district full of prostitutes and drugs and a whole lot of stuff, but this is where we get the birthplace of jazz.
mm.
When you look at hip hop in the Bronx, people gathering together on the basketball court. Somebody, DJ Cool Herc coming out and mixing breaks and people dancing to
Yeah.
it. We getting break dancing. The birth, and so when you look at everything that was created and has influenced this whole art scene in America, it has always come from folks who had little to nothing,
Mm,
and they were
mm,
able to use that firmament to create, because there's
mm,
a direct connection between you and the creator. First words the Bible say, in the beginning God created and
mm.
begin. And so there you go. When you're a part of that creative thing, if you take it seriously and you
Yeah.
have a direct connection, your creativity just moves at all mountains. And it's something that's not necessarily taught. It
No,
is
no.
inherent.
When I
It
tell
is
you,
in
you literally just possibly explained me as an artist.
hmm, yeah,
Possibly the fact that
yeah,
I took very little to
hmm,
become
hmm,
the artist that I am.
right,
I took my story, I took my experience, and I believe that inherited what you just the
hmm,
firmament. I think you said
yes, yes,
I took that
yeah,
inherited piece and birthed the artist that I
yeah,
am. You know what I mean? Because I didn't. We didn't have. I didn't come from a place where there was a lot of resources for art. It
right,
was just
right,
and if we think on an ancestral level,
hmm,
that's our story as a whole. We didn't have a
that's
lot.
right.
We didn't have a lot of resources. We didn't have a lot of
But
anything.
we made it
But we
happen.
made history with
Right,
that nothing, and
right,
that's I'm a direct product
product.
of
Yeah,
that. You
yeah.
are, we are. You know what I mean? So that is very powerful, and
Yeah.
I think
And you
that's.
can look at everything from
Mm,
the women down in G's Bend who make the quilts and
mm,
how magnificent they are, all the way up to somebody as complicated as a Barry Gordy, who
yeah,
found all these incredibly talented Black teenagers, groomed
yeah,
them, put them out there, and made them do, even down to when you go to each metropolitan city, in this country, there's a specific style of African American music.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You go to New Orleans, you hear Zydeco. You come to DC. I was brought up on go-go. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
come to Philly, you got the Philadelphia sound with Kenny Gamble.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everywhere you go, and it's not a secret that these things have taken over the world because we are people who are in a constant cipher of creation. We are
Yeah.
always creating, which puts us directly connected to the creator. That's why we've been able to get through these struggles because
Ugh,
we are able to create. You know, when
come
you
on.
look at
Come
Dr.
on.
King, you look at I Have a Dream speech or any other speeches, that man was a poet. You look at
Yeah.
Malcolm X, they were poets and they
Yeah.
would write things that would move people. Look at
Yes.
Marcus Garvey. All of these
Right.
people, and again, started in this area of squalor, started in, and
Right.
then let me say this. Then you got somebody like John Michel Basquiat.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a
Mm-hmm.
guy who was born into pretty good means. His
Yeah.
dad had pretty good amount of money. He was living pretty well, but that was not enough for him. He took himself out of that, found himself living on the street, going from household to household, sleeping on people's couches. Now, his paintings are the most expensive American
Yes.
paintings ever. You're looking at his last big painting was worth $110.5 million. And now
Right.
they have one that's coming up to be auctioned. Now they say it's going to be worth more than that. So, and this
Wow.
guy put himself in squalor because he
Mm-hmm.
knew in order to listen to that voice, he had to
You
touch
had to
that
be
firmament. And it wasn't where money is. It's not
right.
where the wealth
It's
is.
where
You're
struggle is.
glorified.
It's where struggle is. That's where that is, and that's a good segue into us talking about this Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Um, Adam and Eve returned to the
Yes.
garden. That was just already. I'm just so filled from that portion of the conversation. But absolutely, and I think this is a direct reason. As I bring up the paintings now, I'm going to start with Adam.
Okay.
I believe this is the reason why I created these pieces. And as I said in my last lives, that I didn't have an intention with creating these pieces. It was literally a vision.
Okay.
And somewhere subconsciously, there was a reason. And I would like to say the reason why it came to my mind to create this was simply to see us in the story
Mm-hmm.
and to really speak to where we've come from and where we're going. And
Mm-hmm.
and 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 I like what my brother Nate brought up on the last live. He says, "Okay, so we left the garden without anything,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're returning with fruit."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We left the darkness, and now we're going back into the light. We're going back to that because the just to give a little explanation behind Return of the Garden if you were tuning in for the first time. And first, let me pause and just say thank you to everyone who is on. I see all your comments. I appreciate it so much. Continue to comment and like, and I will continue to show your comments down below. Yeah, so I think it was just so necessary to just put us in the story. It was so necessary to have this brown figure named Adam, and have that fruit there. So it's just the gist of it was, even though it's saying return to the garden, I'm also speaking to returning to a peaceful state of mind, returning back to yourself, returning back to your confidence, returning back to embracing who you are. There's so many layers in that, and so let's start with Adam here. I want to hear your take and what you got, if anything, from
Okay.
here.
So at first sight, the first thing I think about is with the fruit on the head is there was a famous Hispanic woman, Cuban woman. Her name was Carmen Miranda, and
Mm.
she was known for dressing with fruit on her head. She did this in several movies. You can look her up.
Mm.
And Carmen Miranda, in fact, if you look at some of the old Bugs Bunny things, he kind of pokes fun at her about dressing up like a woman and putting the fruit on his head as well. So at first glance, when I see the male and woman, especially with the fruit on the head, that's one of the first things that I think of. When
Yeah.
I'm looking and really delving into this, there's so many things going on here. So
Yeah. Do you
number
want me to
one,
leave
the
it up?
position of the face. Say that again.
Would you like me to leave it up, or do you want me to take it
Yeah,
down?
yeah. Please leave it up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
please leave it up. The position of the face and the head, facing the the from the east to the west.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at it in that way, because we always think of the garden being in the east. And
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that he's facing opposite of it says something to me also. Now, when
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the fruit that's gathered here, the piece that they were not supposed to do was to take from the tree of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about the tree of knowledge, I think about not only their eyes being open, but them becoming more aware of
Mm-hmm.
things. And nobody knows specifically what this fruit looked like. They always say it's an apple.
Mm-hmm.
However, it could have been any piece of fruit. So when I think about
Right.
the knowledge that they've gained at the expense of being put out of the garden, these pieces of fruit symbolize more than just one piece of fruit, but several pieces of fruit. And you have everything from strawberries on his head to bananas and
Mm-hmm.
grapes and all of these different things like that. Each
Mm-hmm.
one has a different texture, each one has a different sweetness, all of these things like that. Now, the expression on his face also, the expression, his jawline is very firm.
Mm-hmm.
It's very firm, and it is a sign of strength, and it is a sign of persistence, and that he's moving this. Now, the interesting thing is that you painted his pink and hers blue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the dichotomy here, because now what it does is it brings in a whole background of a feminine background or theme to it, on with the male on top of it. In
Yeah.
addition to that, because we don't see his body form,
Mm-hmm.
because we only see his neck and the thing in the collar that's around his neck, we don't see this form, and the body blends right into everything that is a part of this whole universe. So when you
Mm-hmm.
see these little specks here, for me,
Yeah.
they are pieces of light. And so
Mm-hmm.
because we are, light, water and light is basically what we are, with mud.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a piece of that as well. So when I look at his expression, now the other thing is that he's a very urban gentleman too, by his
Yeah.
haircut. He's very
Mm-hmm.
lined up. So this is something that is pretty contemporary as it relates to his attitude and his thought patterns. When I look
Mm-hmm.
at that, that's what I see. Now, red and white are symbolic colors also.
Yeah.
Symbolic colors.
Yeah.
That's my oldest daughter. She don't know I'm on live, but anyway. So that the red and white, regal colors, red and white.
Mm-hmm.
There are brightness, the tone of it, the redness, the sharpness of it. Is a very masculine thing. It's has a very a royal effect to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and it's funny because fruit on top of a man's head could look feminine, but it does not in this case. It
Right.
looks very masculine, not only because of the lineup and his jawline and everything else, but because he's wearing it as if it is a crown of
Mm.
knowledge. So this
Wow.
is what I gather from this piece here. And the other thing is that I see, if I'm not mistaken, I see little blueberries there too, and
Yes, you do,
little
sir.
lines and squiggly lines or something. And we missed that on the feminine,
Mm.
the other picture.
Yeah.
And so that's another element that adds to his whole potpourri or fruit
Yeah.
basket, cornucopia of fruit
Yeah.
on top of his head as well. So
Yeah.
that's what I get from this painting.
Th- Well, that's amazing. Like I said, I always enjoy hearing other people's
Mm,
perspectives and how they review the art piece and what they take
mm,
from it. Because as we know, as I've been saying, if you've been following me, I've been educating my audience, is just letting them know that art
mm,
is subjective. you know, whatever my intentions were in creating the piece does not have to be what you get from it.
Right,
You know,
right.
we can learn, that's why people collect art, because it speaks to them and their story and their situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly what the artist intended. So
Absolutely.
I love that review. I love also, one of my biggest takeaways from that was how you said the rest of his body becomes a part of the universe.
Yes.
Um, and how amazing is that if we go with the idea that the pink is a representation of femininity,
Right.
that the rest of the guy's body goes into that, which that
Hmm.
speaks to the necessity, excuse me, for vulnerability. That speaks
Yes.
to the necessity for nurturing that a man needs. So though his face is very strong, and
Yeah.
though the fruit may in this round look like a crown, and
Yeah.
the red around him seem very strong and masculine,
Yeah.
there is a need for his entire body to be engulfed in softness and
Right.
acceptance and
Yes.
vulnerability and things like that. And I that's what I took from your review of the art,
Hmm.
and I think that's amazing. And let's move. I'm gonna move, if that's good with you, to
Yes.
Eve.
Yes. Let's
Okay,
go.
awesome. Let me do that here. 1 second. Here we are. It's on you,
Okay.
Mr. Taylor.
All right. So looking at this brings to mind a African quote, or what they call one of their famous African sayings. And it says that it is the woman who holds up the sky.
Mm,
And so when I look at the head wrap, for me, that looks like a starry crown and is placed on her head. And the difference between hers and his is that now she has this on her head and she has the fruit as well. And so
yeah.
where she doesn't have as much fruit, I mean, the same fruit that he has, she has some other pieces of fruit also.
Mm,
And the dichotomy here is there's a artist by the name of John Biggers,
mm,
and he did this piece of artwork called Web of Life. And what it is, it's a huge tree. The left side of the tree is everything that's feminine. The
mm,
right side of the tree is everything that's male. And in the tree, he has little embryos embroiled, and he has a man and a woman kind of reaching toward each other. But everything on the left side, which is the feminine end, is woman. And so they show these women, these repeated women, with baskets on their heads,
mm,
repeated, almost symbolizing like a woman's monthly cycle. And then on
right.
the other side, where the men is, you see the men scattering seeds, and we know that the seeds represents the male fertility. So
Yeah.
when I look at this here, this is what that whole quote comes to mind. It's the woman who holds up the sky, and it's
Wow.
evident because it's like she's wearing a starry crown, and it's
Hmm.
above her head. Now her expression also is one of strength. That jawline is very important. When you look at the fruit that's on her head, she has a lot of green too. And so
Hmm.
that leans toward the whole Mother Nature end, how we see Mother Nature. And once
Yeah.
again, her body falls into her background of blue with the specks of light as well. So now
Yeah.
she's engulfed with that kind of masculine energy also. And so when
Yeah.
you look at this, again, she's facing from the east to the west.
Yeah.
And um, the the outfit that or the top of it anyway, the way we can see a piece of her shoulder, all
Yeah.
of that, it leans itself to a great piece of femininity. When you see that open
Yeah.
shoulder there, all
Yeah.
of that is feminine. She has her hair laid. You gotta have your hair laid.
Right.
And so that brings in that urban element with the eyebrows, the whole 9 yards. Her expression is one of seriousness, somberness, and it invites the idea of the strength of women. There's an
Mm,
artist by the name of Simone Lee who just put a piece on the University of Pennsylvania's campus. It's called Brick House. And what she talks about is she's tired of seeing women be soft and
mm,
fragile.
yeah.
She wants to see them have strength and have ability to withhold and withstand things that may come their way. And for me, that's what this piece represents also. You look at her
Mm.
face, she not only tell you don't try it, I've been through it,
Don't try
and
it.
yeah, you don't want it because I got
Mm.
this crown of the universe on my head. I'm holding up the sky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. First of all, let's jump into this. The woman holding up the sky. Like,
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah.
That alone is amazing. It's because I see that when you said it, I really feel like she's holding up the sky. Now, how many women? Now let's go this far. How many women are literally holding up the sky at their
Yeah.
homes, on the
Yeah.
job? You know what I mean? In
Yeah.
their relationships. You know what I mean? Trying
Or
to
have
be
held up the sky. Yeah.
or have held up the
Yeah.
sky. And then also, I like that this speaks to a woman's strength
Yes.
while still allowing her to be feminine.
Yeah.
And I think that as we speak on a cultural level, that a lot of Black women, or at least I've heard with the sisters that I know and have talked to, they feel as though, and a lot, especially with this mental health being the hot topic right now, that
Mm-hmm.
is really hard to live up to that strong Black woman. The woman is always strong and things like that. You know what I mean? It's hard for them to live up
Mm-hmm.
to that
Right.
because everyone expects it. So in this one here, though she has a very regal and strong
Mm-hmm.
pose, there's still that femininity aspect of the
Yes.
flow, the posture of her shoulders, the position of
Yep.
her shoulders,
Yep.
the way the hair is laid. It's still acknowledging that she is very much so a woman and allowed to
Right.
be soft and allowed to be okay. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yes.
normal. So I wanted to ask you, what do you gather from that piece? The little gap there between this the strike of blue between the shoulder there. Um, does that say anything to you?
Well, it's a couple of things. Like I
Mm,
said before, it says femininity because it's open. And it reminds me of some of the African attire that some of the African women wear. However, if you look at it really close, it looks like a pyramid too. And I don't
mm,
miss that. I don't miss the
wow.
fact that it looks like a pyramid.
Yeah.
And it's that peak there. And we all know the history of early Africans and the Nubians and the
Yeah.
Tibetans with the pyramid. So it does ring that also. Takes
Yeah.
me back to a time, but that shoulder leaning in and forward, yes, does express that femininity. And I think that if you had painted with the shoulder back, then we wouldn't see it as being that
Yeah.
bringing in that soft element.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And
And the fact that it's open too, the fact that we see that blue and then we see that, that piece of shoulder there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And let's, while we're on it here, let's, I want to take this down and we can go back to it if necessary. But while I have you,
Mm-hmm.
we're discussing these different topics and things of that nature. I wanted to know, could you
Mm-hmm.
speak a little bit about the importance of expressionism for our community, for artists to really be allowed the freedom to be their best selves for the sake of our stories being told and depicted.
Yes.
What is the importance of expressionism for today's time?
Well, throughout this entire month,
Mm.
every day on my Facebook page, I am posting an artist, I'm posting a piece of music, and I'm posting a quote as it relates to whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so expressionism is extremely important.
Yeah.
Children at young ages need to be able to express themselves. And whether it's in the arts or however it happens, it's very important that they have an outlet to do that. Now, I
Yeah.
can remember as a little boy, I was filled with energies that needed to be creative. I
Mm.
look back on it now and I know what it was. I don't know that my parents understood what it was,
Right.
but I had a need to be creative and it just poured out of me. I couldn't
Mm.
help it.
Yes.
And so when we think about children growing up, teenagers also, they're trying to express themselves.
Mm.
And like I said, this expressiveness sometimes can come at a cost that people just are not ready for.
Yeah.
You know, Who would have thought that, graffiti will go on to be some of the most expensive paintings and artwork ever to be created?
Yeah.
And because it was fine tuned, and because these people needed to express themselves. And I've seen it in some places where it's just absolute artwork. There's no denying that. Whereas people try to degrade it, that wasn't necessarily the case. Yeah. So when we think about this energy that our kids are born with, when you
Yeah.
recognize it, you got to give them a chance to express themselves. You never know what's going to come out of that. You
Yes.
never know. So when I look at this artwork here and I see, how you've been able to express the things that you need to express and
Mm.
and do that, you have a pad or something near you where you
Hmm.
can write something down or sketch something down, because these ideas come, and if you don't get them down soon enough, you'll lose them.
Oh yes, that's for
And
sure.
so they may or may not come back, but while you have it, you have to put it down. That's
Yeah.
a mistake that I've learned over and over again.
Oh my gosh.
I would say, oh, this is such a great idea, and then I won't write it down. And then
Yes.
I'll say, oh,
Right.
what was I thinking about before? What?
Yes.
So expression is very important.
Yes.
It's
That's
very, very
very, very crucial. And I'm glad you spoke on so many different levels there. But that is me myself too. Like that's my daily struggle with making sure that I have something next to me so I don't miss an idea. And but also, just speaking on expressionism, I totally agree with everything you said. That is a necessity. Um, for myself, I was that same young boy who did not have a way to express himself. Um,
okay.
so I turned to my art, you know what I mean, and kept it like it's kind of like my little secret. Like I was able to, be
Right.
my draw or write or do a poem or whatever the case may be. But there was no direct outlet for me to be able to express it on a stage or to get the lessons that I needed. And the only lessons that were available were for a ballet that was extremely expensive, and or a school that was states away, and
Right, right, right,
to
right,
get
right.
to it. So the resources was very few and far in between, and
Well,
so it
see,
left. Mm,
that's the reason why somebody like you
mm,
is so important at a rec center. And a lot of people, I know some of my colleagues will kind of turn their nose up at certain things that are happening in different communities. Like, I'll give you a sample. The woman that has that group down in, I think they're in Atlanta. The the I forgot, they have a dance show on TV, DD4L or whatever they're called. Um,
mm,
what that is doing for the community. Whereas people look at it outside, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, the other thing.
mm.
You're not looking at what it's doing for those kids. And
Yeah,
if they were in a position to be in a ballet class, then maybe they
yeah,
would. If there
right,
was somebody there to teach them this thing and the other thing, then maybe they would. But when you take kids and students from where they are, and this is one of the things that I did down in Point Breeze, you take them from
mm,
where they are and you never know where these kids are going to go. And
right.
one of my students
Yeah.
now is one of Beyonce's former students. I was his first dance teacher. Is now one of Beyonce's top choreographers. And this was a kid you used
Anthony
to have to
Burrell.
lock the doors. Yeah, Anthony. You used to have
Yes.
to lock the doors to keep him into the center because he would go home. Because he didn't
Yeah.
want to enter because he thought the guys in the neighborhood was going to tease him. Now this
Mm,
kid, he took it seriously. He saw he had a gift. We saw he had a gift. He took it and took it and took it and took it and took it all the way up to Alvin Ailey, all the way
right.
up to this, and all the way now, and I had him come on the other day and talk to my kids about his
Yeah.
influences and his inspirations and things like that. And
Yeah.
the kids were very impressed. Also, the faculty was very
Yeah.
impressed with what it is he had to say. But
Absolutely.
if you don't, listen to that child and watch that child carefully and see what I've gone to many parents and tell them, yo,
Yeah.
look, you
Right.
need to get that little girl into
Right.
some classes. That kid is an incredible artist. I don't know what
Mm.
you're doing. That's your money right there that God gave you. If you don't use it, that's on you.
Right, and you know what it is? I think it comes down to the necessity for people to be educated about the arts and
Right,
what the opportunities out there. Because I think, let's just
right.
speak of my community, my hometown in Pleasantville.
Mhm.
What the understanding of the arts was, before someone like yourself and all the amazing artists that are still there in the community right now were there and were doing their work. The understanding was there's no future in the arts, which was a falsity, that there was no way that you can earn a living. There's no way that you could be, you as a doctor, office cop, firefighter, get into public works, get into a state job. There was no understanding that the arts is actually an opportunity for a great future. And so I think we have to educate our communities on the possibility of a young person's life if you really foster those gifts that they have inside of them. And like, to your point, it is very important for someone like myself, yourself, to be in these community buildings like the Police Athletic League and the recreation centers and things like that. That's where I started, under the tutelage of Ms. Deborah Washington. She gave me the platform to be able to really, she saw my gift, she saw what I could do, and she said, you know what? Asked me little questions. She just allowed me to lead as a director at the for the summer camp performing arts talent show every year, and that's how I really came across so many youth who never danced before but always wanted to, never sung before but always wanted to. And my class was an introduction for them. And I have since had young people say, stop me in stores and say, you know what, Mr. Ty, and I would barely remember them, and they were like, it was because of you that now I'm in college for majoring in theater or majoring in vocal or whatever the case may be. I had youth come to me and say, Mr. Ty, you taught me dance like when summer camp one year, and now I have to get ready for an audition. Could you help me? And not only those kids who are artistic, but let's take this on a mental health level. Now, some young people, I had a student who wasn't really necessarily arts are creatively inclined, like, you know what I mean, and had the ability, but he was home schooled, and so therefore he didn't have a lot of social interaction. So his parents brought him to my class, and he blossomed. His personality came out. He was more communicative. They could have conversations about how he was feeling internally now, because we expressed ourselves during the drama class. So this helps the young people not only express themselves, but also on a social level, also on a mental health level, where they are now not harboring their thoughts. We have suicide rates of our young people going up through the roof because they have no way to express themselves, that I'm tired, that I do see what's going on in my community with Black Lives Matter, and I don't know how to express that. I don't have no way to scream. I have no way to get this out. And so they internalize it, and it leads to something detrimental like suicide. So it's terribly important that we educate our community on how necessary the arts is, and how much that we should be supporting the arts at every opportunity.
We're the only country that completely disrespects the arts, but has the most respect for it at the same time. It's a crazy dichotomy. So here you have, and I always put them on because they don't understand. HBCUs. I have a big issue with a lot of HBCUs. And the reason why I have a big issue with them, someplace like Howard University just got their dance program like 10 years ago. Do you know some of the most famous dance choreographers graduated from Howard University? George Faison and Debbie Allen, and you don't have a dance program? So, okay. And like I said, it just started maybe about 10, 15 years ago. But look how old the school is. Now, the other dynamic of that is when you look at people like Toni Morrison, who went on to be the first African-American to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. When the racism in literature here in America was so strong, they wouldn't even honor her with the Book of the Year award. They wouldn't give her anything. But just because the people in your neighborhood don't recognize your greatness does not mean that everybody else is not going to. And she went out there and showed the world. Now, I always tell art educators also. My wife and I just did a big in-service with like over 300 art teachers in the city of Philadelphia. Hey, Christina. What's up, girl?
I was waiting for her.
We just did a big thing with them. And one of the things I emphasize to them is to keep in mind that you are not only educating future artists, but you're also educating future funders and future audience members. Keep that in mind, because the arts cannot thrive without an audience or funders. So whereas this kid may not be the next Jacob Lawrence, he may very well be the next Oprah Winfrey.
Ah, ah, this
You
that's
know,
oh my gosh, that's so
you got to
true.
remember that and
And
keep
I
that in
think
mind.
right, and again, I think goes to education. I think it also calls for artists to be more vocal
Yes,
in the communities.
yes,
At the city council meetings, letting them know that
right.
budgets need to be created, if not already, for
Yep.
the arts. There was a lot of times that, like, I know I was told for my very first show, I had 150 students to perform a show in 6 weeks, and I
Mm-hmm.
asked what was the budget, and they told me we have petty cash, probably about $25.
You had to make magic out of that, right?
And I'm like, I can't do anything with $25. It is
Right,
because the
right, right.
city didn't even see necessary to have funds allotted for for the arts, and but there's so much investment in sports. Not knocking it. That's another outlet, another necessity in the community. However, it's not the only open door or opportunity. Not every kid is going to be a football player and a basketball player. You know
Here's
what
the
I
thing that gets me. Here's the thing that gets me. This is the thing that gets me.
mean?
You don't invest any money in the arts necessarily. You have these kids come to your school, and I'm speaking specifically to HBCUs. They
Yeah.
go to your schools, they do well, they get out there, they're extremely successful, whether they're performing artists or visual artists. And here you are, come alumni day, their names is the first one down that you asking for money. Their names
Mm,
is the first one down that, oh, so and so went here, oh, so
yeah.
and so attended here. Those
Yeah.
are the ones that you're
Yeah.
not only using their name, but you're getting money from too. Look how many
Mhm.
buildings Bill Cosby put on different people's campuses.
Yeah.
You know, look at that. He didn't get
Yeah.
that in football. He didn't get
No.
that in an architect. He didn't get
No.
that being a lawyer. And that's not to say that
Right.
these people don't donate money. But what I'm saying to you is that your respect factor has gone to the floor when it comes to the art. But when the time comes for you to use that name,
Hands are
oh,
out.
so and so went here and
Hands are
graduated.
out.
Toni Morrison graduated from here. Didn't you know? So and so went here. Nina Simone started here. You know, and then it's okay to do that.
Right. Right.
And just think if you nurtured that thing in the beginning. That's the
Right.
thing
That's
I
what it could
loved
have
about
been.
Duke Ellington.
Right.
That's
Right.
the thing I loved about Duke Ellington. It was
Mm.
not uncommon to walk down the hallway and see somebody walking past. They may not have been a celebrity, but you're looking at them like, that's the guy that was on Good Times last week.
Right.
Or, isn't that, what's his name from Earth, Wind, and Fire? Or, and so they put you right in the thick of it so that you got a chance to see. And the ultimate thing for me was when we had the opening night of our refurbished theater.
Mm.
And I see everybody there, and I'm helping out. And I see everybody all of a sudden split like the Red Sea. And I'm like, whoa,
Mm.
who's coming down the hallway now? And it was none other than Lena Horne.
Wow.
And I could not believe it. Now, my foster mom was never crazy about me being in the arts. She was never just crazy about it. I did
Mm.
it, and she was okay. But the night I came home and I said to her, Ma, guess who I met today? Because she had taught me who Lena Horne was. I said, Ma, guess who I met today? She said, who? I said, I met Lena Horne. And she signed this for you. And I
Mm.
gave her, and she lit up like a Christmas tree. She could
I'm
not
sure.
believe. And it didn't just say Lena Horne. It said, hello, Estelle. Love Lena Horne.
Oh
And
man.
she lit up like a Christmas tree. But because she had followed this woman all her life and admired
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And now here was a direct connection to her. She knew
Wow.
her name.
Mm.
So when we look at the arts and
Mm.
what the arts do for our culture, we're the only country that don't respect it the way we should. The African American community respects it.
Yeah.
We understand where it can take us and where it can go. It's the only form of occupation where you start off the underdog and you rise quickly to the top. And all
Mm.
you got to do is say one word, Oprah. Nobody knew who she was.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who she was. And
Yeah.
here she was, a talk show host, an actress.
Mm.
And I can remember there was a TV show in DC, and they was taking the TV show off because they were putting on the Oprah Winfrey show. And I
Yeah.
got a hold of one of those Nielsen ratings things, and I had to fill it out and mail it in. And I mailed in, don't take off such and such a show for this Oprah show. Boy, was I wrong. And so, and now look, billionaire.
Mm,
And that's
mm,
not just to say money, but it's
yeah.
to say that when we equate economics here in this country, a lot of time we equate it to that. Now we
Mm,
look at the artists and the artwork that came out of the Harlem Renaissance, which is celebrating this centennial. You
yeah.
know, for the
Yeah.
next 10 years, we'll be celebrating the centennial of the Harlem Renaissance
Yeah.
because it was very important to our people and our culture. And our kids have
Absolutely.
got to understand the history behind it and the dynamic behind it.
Yes. And so on, like, listen, we could talk forever on all of these
Right,
levels
right.
about everything that you're saying right now. Our children must know their history as far as the arts are concerned, because it literally, like I believe Chrissy said just now, that like the arts shape the community. And I think
Yes,
it's very important that our
yes,
youth understand just how rich our history is in the
yes,
arts, and
yes.
how we have really, what is now called the pop culture is really our culture.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh,
It
yeah.
has, yeah, absolutely. So for sure. And I want to ask you one more question, and I'm going to get into, and we're going to wrap up,
Okay.
because we are past our time. But like, this has been a wealth of information. This has been about a live about legacy, about artistry,
Yes.
about our culture, ancestry. So I'm walking away with a lot from this conversation. And I must have you again, sir, because
Oh,
we have
yeah,
only
absolutely.
touched the tip
Please.
of the iceberg right now. But
Absolutely.
my last question for you is, how important
Mhm.
is exposure for our youth today?
That is a question that I'm going to answer like this.
Mm,
There is a new documentary on HBO called Black Art,
mm.
The Absence of Light. Have you seen it?
No, 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 no. I
You
haven't seen it.
have to see this.
Okay.
It captures
Right.
the whole concept of exposure. And
Mm-hmm.
so the idea that they use this the light represents not only people seeing you, but it also represents our white colleagues or our Caucasian colleagues.
Hmm.
So they called it the black art, the absence of light. And it's very interesting that they put it on at this time too,
Yeah.
because so many artists are in the dark right now because of COVID.
Right.
So
Right.
now, my favorite quote, and I'm not gonna quote it exactly, but the gentleman says something to the effect of, at the very near the very end, he says something to the effect of, you being a black artist, are you still going to um, continue to create in the darkness
Mm. Mm.
without the light? When the light is shining, are you still creating so that when
Mm.
the light does come on, you're ready to go? And so
Yeah.
when you talk about exposure for our kids, it's very important. It's very important
Mm. Absolutely.
because the energy that African Americans carry is one that is derived in struggle. We talk about the
Mm.
firmament. We
Yeah.
talk about all types of things. And there's a direct connection to the ancestry that
Mm.
is in our DNA. We have not lost it.
Yeah.
We have not lost it. It's still
No.
there. I
Yes.
mean, I can remember when crunk
Remember, man.
dancing first came out,
Yeah.
and the kids in LA and all over there were doing it with Tommy the Clown and all of that. And
Mm.
the guy came and did this movie. I think it was David LaChapelle. He came along and did this movie, and he put these kids doing their style of crunk dancing next to some old African dance footage, and it was the exact same movement.
Yeah.
These kids hadn't studied that
Mm-hmm.
because it's in their DNA. And so
Yeah.
that exposure is so important, not
Mm-hmm.
only for the people who are looking at it, but for those that are exhibiting it.
Yeah.
It is imperative. And it's not just a look at me type of thing, an egotistical thing. It is a thing that says, I am here, I
Yeah.
exist,
Mm-hmm.
and I am the hope for what is going to come.
Oh, well, sir, we can end on that. We could end on that. That, I mean, come on. The hope, we are the hope that is to come.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. Like I said, we have to do like a part two of our conversation
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
because I'm really grateful that you took the time to just share so much and offer so much to my audience and myself. Um, I'm gratefully appreciative of you. You are someone who I can definitely say publicly that I stand on your shoulders.
Well, I appreciate
You,
that.
yeah, absolutely. You have given me given me opportunities in your dance club, on stage, different dance. I'm sorry, dance. I can't even talk right now.
Gas company, yeah.
Dance company, right? And your dance company as well as on stage. And I'm honored to have you a part of my journey in my artistry as well. And I'm looking forward to many more projects of us working together.
Well, what you got
Uh,
to know and understand is that you're an inspiration to me
oh,
because of the places that you touch and the places that you go and the things that you do, even down to this setting here. I'm like, wow, Ty really got it set up. This is really nice. You know, I teach a class in Pleasantville at the high school that I literally had to go over the principal's head and meet with the assistant superintendent to be able to teach. And it's a class called African American Arts and Entertainment. And that's where the kids learn about what is going on here, what happened before, and all of that. So, and I'm really, really, really happy to be teaching that class. So,
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And so, how can people get in contact with you and just
Oh,
stay into all that you're doing?
okay. So, I am on. Well, you can always reach me by Facebook or Messenger. Arthur
Mm,
Leo Taylor.
mm,
I'm working on a website now. I'm trying to get it together. In fact, I have a meeting with somebody just shortly about getting that together.
yeah,
Um, and at Pleasantville High School, I'm always
yeah,
there. I mean, when we get back, we're supposed to be going back. I don't know what's going. If we're going back, if we're not going back. I don't know.
right, right.
Just want everybody to be safe, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, those are the areas that you can reach me. Again, send me
Okay.
a message or Arthur Leo Taylor Facebook request or whatever, and
Mm.
you can reach me there. Or and at the high school, Taylor.Arthur at pbs-nj.us. That,
Absolutely. So at the end, what we'll do is because we didn't have time to get it together beforehand, but we can just comment. We'll comment your information down below so everybody
okay,
will have it, and
great.
we'll go from there. But again, thank you so much. I would be
Thank
remiss
you.
if I did not acknowledge some other people who are really important and crucial to
Yeah,
my
please.
story, which would be
Yeah.
obviously the amazing late Miss Phyllis Hawkins, who was not only
Yes.
a mentor of mine but a dear friend, and then someone who has recently gone on to be with the Lord. Miss Patty Harris, who was a phenomenal
Oh my God, are you
choreographer. Yes,
serious? I
yes,
did
yes,
not know.
yes,
When did that
yes.
happen?
This was, I believe, within this last week. It was, and
Oh,
yes. So
and
she
let
was
me
someone.
tell you why that touches me so
Mm,
much.
mm,
Because I wanted before she left this earth for our
mm.
new dance room to carry her name,
Oh,
and I
we
tried to
let's
get it
have
done.
make that happen.
Yeah, I know. I wanted her there though, but yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't. Yeah, I wanted to
yeah,
bear her name, and
yes,
so I'm
absolutely.
still going to work on that. Yeah.
Yes. So she was very, very
Wow. Wow. I'm really
important to
sorry
my
to hear that.
story. Yes, yes, she was very important to my story, and I am just in awe of how God has brought in so many amazing people in my he allowed
Yes,
me to
sir.
cross
Yeah.
paths with so many amazing people. So I'm
Wow.
grateful for that.
Yes.
I'm going to run down some last minute things. This has been a phenomenal conversation, but I did want to bring back up the art feature Friday,
Yeah.
which is my piece, Weary and Well Doing. I'll bring that
All
up
right.
now.
Yes.
All right, we'll be talking and discussing this soon. Let me see if I can find the information for this here. Let's see. Yeah, so this is Weary and Well Doing. All right, this is a 16 by 20 print acrylic on canvas. All right, the prints start at $250 on my website at artbytylewis.com. Check that out when you get an opportunity. That is the Art Feature Friday for this week. What else here? I'm going to bring up the other pieces, Adam and Eve, one more time.
Mm-hmm. That
Here's
brother.
Adam right here. This is the good brother right here, returning to the garden. And then you have Eve as well. All right. To all those who took the time to comment and watch and share, I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it. Please continue to comment below. I respond to everyone's comments. Once we get off, I'll go back and read every single thing. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Remember to share. Visit my website at artbytylewis.com. Two other ways you can check me out is on Facebook on my support group, Art by Ty Lewis support group, as well as on Instagram at art_by_Ty Lewis. All right. So again, thank you all so very much for tuning in. And thanks for being a part of this. Again, we're going to do part 2. We have to. Someone already asked for it. It's got to happen. All right. But enjoy your evening, sir. And we'll be in touch. God bless you all.
Thank you.
And pray for Texas.
Yes.
Let's pray for Texas. All right. Everyone keep them in your prayers and all that good stuff there. And we're just going to we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.